The morning sun spilled through the tall windows of Rosewood Cafe, lighting the polished wooden floors and casting warm reflections across the glass cabinets. It was a beautiful, peaceful day, yet for a young waitress named Mara Ellison, nothing felt peaceful inside her chest. She had barely slept, barely eaten, barely breathed without feeling the weight of the choices she never asked for. But everything changed the moment an elderly woman in an elegant cream-colored coat walked in, looked directly at the necklace around Mara's neck, and froze as if she had just seen a ghost. And that was when the woman whispered the words that would flip Mara's entire world upside down. "Where did you get this? If you believe in kindness, destiny, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Good Deeds Stories. Because today's story will remind you how one small detail can change a person's entire life." Mara worked double shifts most days, carrying plates, refilling coffees, and forcing polite smiles even when exhaustion made her vision blur. At 22, she should have been in college, or traveling, or dreaming big like others her age. Instead, she was buried under hospital bills left behind after her mother's passing 2 years earlier. The world had moved on, but grief had tightened around Mara like a rope she couldn't break free from. The only thing she owned that reminded her of warmth and safety was a small, silver locket she kept tucked near her heart. It was oval-shaped, slightly scratched, with a faded engraving LF. Her mother had given it to her shortly before she died, telling her it was all she had left from the past. Mara never questioned it. She just held on to it, believing it was simply a sentimental trinket, nothing more. On this particular morning, Rosewood Cafe was unusually crowded. Sunlight reflected off rows of parked cars outside as office employees shuffled in and out. Customers ordered their breakfast sandwiches, and the steady hum of laughter and clinking cutlery filled the air. The cafe smelled of roasted coffee beans, warm pastries, and fresh bread, comforting scents that made people feel at home. Mara wished she could feel that same comfort, but her worries never slept. Rent was late again. The manager hinted he might reduce her hours, and last night her power had been shut off for the 3rd time this year. Still, she kept going. She always kept going. Around late morning, the cafe door chimed softly, and a hush fell over the employees behind the counter. Everyone recognized the woman who walked in. She had been featured in newspapers and on billboards for years. Evelyn Hartford, the billionaire philanthropist known for her luxurious grand hotels and the decades-long charity foundation she funded. She was elderly now, in her late 70s, with soft white curls framing her kind but tired face. Her presence commanded respect without demanding it. She looked like someone who had seen storms, survived them, and learned to be gentle in a world that rarely was. Mara approached her table with the same professional courtesy she offered every customer. She carried a pot of steaming coffee, a glass of water, and a soft smile. But as she leaned forward to place the glass down, Evelyn's gaze dropped unexpectedly to the small silver locket resting just below Mara's collarbone. Her breath caught, her hand trembled, and her eyes widened in a way that made Mara step back in confusion. Evelyn slowly reached upward, stopping just short of touching the necklace. The sunlight hit the locket perfectly, illuminating the faded engraving. The elderly woman's voice came out fragile, yet sharp with disbelief as she stared at it for several long, silent seconds that made Mara's heartbeat accelerate. Then came the question that shattered the morning calm. "Where did you get this?" Mara's breath stilled. She felt caught, confused, exposed. She managed to explain in a shaky tone that the necklace belonged to her mother, who'd passed away. It was the only thing she had left. Evelyn listened without blinking, her lips parting in shock, as though the universe had just handed her a piece of her soul. She thought she had lost forever. The old woman asked if Mara's mother had ever spoken of her own childhood, her own family. Mara explained that her mother rarely discussed her past, only saying she had no one left. Evelyn's hands trembled harder. She pressed them against her chest, fighting back tears that shimmered beneath her lashes. Something in her expression frightened Mara, not fear, but heartbreak so deep it was as though this moment had opened an old wound that had never healed. At that moment, the cafe seemed to fall away. The sound of customers faded. The smell of pastries disappeared. It was as though the universe had drawn a circle around just the two of them. placing them in a suspended moment where only truth existed. Evelyn finally spoke, her voice shattering the quiet tension. She said that the necklace, down to the exact engraving, belonged to her granddaughter, Leela, who had gone missing with Evelyn's daughter over 25 years ago. A disappearance that shattered the Hartford family and drove Evelyn into philanthropy as a way to cope with unimaginable grief. She had searched for decades, followed every lead, funded private investigators, and held on to hope until it hollowed her out. The necklace was proof. Proof of something impossible. Proof that the family she lost might not have been as lost as she feared. Evelyn asked Mara for her mother's name. When Mara answered, the old woman's face broke. Completely. Her eyes filled, her lips trembled, and a small cry escaped her, the kind of sound someone makes when fate finally returns something stolen long ago. She revealed that Mara's mother had the same birth name as Evelyn's missing daughter. A name Evelyn had repeated every night in her prayers. The world tilted for Mara. Her vision blurred. Her knees weakened. She didn't want to believe it, not because it sounded untrue, but because it felt too painful to hope. Too painful to accept that the life she thought she knew might have been built on secrets her mother kept to protect her. Evelyn requested to talk after Mara's shift, her voice tender, pleading. Mara agreed, though anxiety churned in her stomach. She felt exposed, confused, and oddly connected to this stranger who looked at her with a mix of love, longing, and disbelief. When her shift ended, they sat together at a small cafe table by the sunny windows. Daylight softened Evelyn's features as she spoke gently, telling Mara about the daughter she raised, Vivian Hartford, and the tragic disappearance after Vivian fled from an abusive marriage. Evelyn tried desperately to stop. Vivian had run to protect her child, to start anew. And now, hearing the story from Evelyn, Mara realized her mother had changed her last name, worked small jobs in quiet towns, and avoided the spotlight for a reason. She had been hiding not out of fear of Evelyn, but out of fear that her dangerous ex-husband might find them. Mara listened with her heartbeat thundering inside her chest. Every detail fit too perfectly. Every memory made sense now. Her mother wasn't running from family. She was running to keep Mara alive. Evelyn reached across the table and placed her trembling hand over Mara's. Her touch was warm, hopeful, fragile. She expressed that she did not want to disrupt Mara's life or claim anything she didn't want, but she begged for the chance to know her, to hear stories about her daughter, to fill even a tiny corner of the void that losing them left behind. Mara didn't know what to say. Her life had been a battlefield of survival, loneliness, and exhaustion, and now here was someone offering her not just help, but connection, family, history. She saw sincerity in Evelyn's eyes, a grandmother's love that had been waiting decades for a place to land. Over the next few weeks, they met several times in daylight cafes and parks. Evelyn brought photo albums, memories, and stories that brought Mara's mother back to life in vibrant colors she had never seen before. They laughed, cried, and healed. The older woman from decades of loss, and Mara from a lifetime of feeling alone. Evelyn insisted on helping Mara financially, but Mara refused at first. She didn't want to look like someone taking advantage of a wealthy stranger. But the old woman gently reminded her that family wasn't charity. Family lifted one another because love demanded it. Eventually, Mara allowed Evelyn to pay off the hospital debts, the same ones that dragged her down for years. Evelyn also helped her secure a scholarship at a prestigious local college, allowing Mara to pursue the dreams she had buried beneath survival. The day Mara walked onto campus, sunlight glowing on her face, she carried the silver locket proudly. For the first time, she felt like she belonged somewhere. Not just in the world, but in someone's heart. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Good Deed Stories. Your support truly helps keep these life-changing stories alive. As months passed, Mara visited Evelyn's grand home regularly, a mansion filled not with wealth, but warmth, art, and memories. Mara discovered parts of herself she never knew existed. She learned her mother had been a gifted painter. She learned her grandfather had loved growing orchids. She learned that she wasn't alone in the world after all. But the most emotional moment came on a sunny afternoon in Evelyn's garden, surrounded by blooming roses and gentle winds. Evelyn placed her palms gently on Mara's cheeks. her eyes brimming with tears that sparkled in the sunlight. She whispered that she had spent half her life searching for her daughter and granddaughter, and though she couldn't change what was lost, she was grateful to God, fate, and the universe for giving her back at least one piece of her heart. Mara held her tightly, feeling love she had only ever imagined. A love that felt like coming home. Before the ending of this story, please comment, "Keenness lives on," to spread positivity across the world. And as the sun shone warmly over the garden, Mara realized something she never thought she would feel. Her story wasn't filled with loss after all. It was filled with rediscovery, connection, and love silently waiting to be found.